She-Hulk, episode 6, where I was wrong again. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna stop saying that Daredevil is in this show, because at this point, he ain't gonna be in the show, let's be honest. I've been saying it for 5 videos now that he was gonna be in the show, and he still hasn't shown up. I'm gonna delete my channel at this point. We start with Jen getting a box in the mail, and someone has invited her to their wedding to be a bridesmaid. And of course, there's glitter just everywhere in the box. Jen's house is gonna be an absolute mess after she gets everything out of that box. She starts packing, and Nikki is over at her house. Nikki then says this.
No, Jen, you don't need to bring a Luke Jacobson business suit to a wedding. I want to see the super suit that he made you.
Why? I'm never gonna wear it.
Of course she's not gonna put on the super suit. What are you thinking? The show needs to give us some reason to stay and watch the next episode. Stupid Nikki. Wait, she's never gonna put it on because she's never gonna be a superhero. Because she doesn't want to. Yeah, because she's not gonna use her incredible powers to save people because she just doesn't want to. I'm sorry, but this sounds like a narcissist. Let's take Spider-Man, for example. Let's just use him. He is not a superhero because he wants to. There are many times in the comic books that he doesn't want to go saving people. Even in Spider-Man Homecoming, he would much rather go to a party than save people's lives. He does it anyway because he knows that it's his responsibility to use his unique powers to save people who cannot defend themselves. AKA, the point of being a superhero. Now you could say, oh, maybe they're gonna do some character development with Jen and make her decide that she wants to be a superhero. Maybe. Given the very little amount of character development that we've already got in 6 episodes of the series, I think it's safe to say that we won't have that much character development for her going forward. We see a dress that the drip broker made her in the last episode. I'm not gonna say anything about this right now, but we're gonna get back to that later. Then she says that the wedding is for a longtime family friend, and she says that Chad is going to be DJing. And I'm really excited right now. I can't wait to see Chad back. As soon as he shows up on screen, he's gonna save the entire show for me, honestly. Then we get a cool 4th wall break.
Yes, it's a self-contained wedding episode, and if you think this is happening at an inconvenient time in the season, you're right, because that's how weddings always are. But I'm gonna look great, so let's go.
Excuse me, what did you just say? Are you saying that weddings are inconvenient for you, you self-obsessed prick? I'm sorry, weddings are great. I was a groomsman once, and it was cool. You know why? I got to sit at the cool table. Alright? Now, unlike Jen, I'm thankful. She's not even thinking about the cool table. And she's also saying that this episode is a inconvenient wedding filler episode. But don't worry, just because something proclaims that it's filler doesn't mean that it's excusable from criticism. Like, for example, if I steal a purse from an old lady, and I go around throwing the purse up for everyone to see, and I proclaim, hey, I stole this purse from an old lady, that does not make me innocent of any crime. Also, if the wedding is inconvenient for you, don't go. It's simple as that. So we go to the wedding and Jen shows up as She-Hulk, and everyone is excited and surprised of how stunning she looks. But the bride isn't so happy about this.
I can't believe you're doing this to me.
What? Taking all the attention away from me with your...
No one's gonna be looking at me. All eyes are gonna be on you. It's your big day.
I know it's my big day. I don't want you to be all hulky at my wedding.
This is a reasonable thing to say, honestly. Weddings are pretty important times for people. It's a celebration of 2 people becoming one, and you probably don't want a massive green woman overshadowing that. Jen then breaks the 4th wall again.
Yeah, obviously this is the one time I didn't want to show up as just Jen.
So for some reason, she wants to be She-Hulk now, even though in the last 5 episodes, she has been complaining that she is She-Hulk. So now she's just saying that she's gonna be She-Hulk for the rest of her life. Listen, I like the storyline of her coming to terms with her new powers and becoming a better person for them, accepting and becoming comfortable with the fact that she is She-Hulk. But this is not character development. This is just a character inconsistency. There's no line connecting her progression as a character. She just hops from not liking She-Hulk to loving being She-Hulk with no scenes to develop her character in between that time. There was that court scene in the last episode. That is a really small scene for this giant gap that needs to be filled. I'm just saying, I like this idea. I'm just not loving the execution so far. Obviously, you can tell that from my videos. I don't have to explain that. Moving on. So she changes back into Jen, but there's a little small issue right here. The dress that she was wearing as She-Hulk looks too big now. But this dress was made by the drip broker. So the drip broker was supposed to give her clothes that shrink and grow as she changes from Jen to She-Hulk and She-Hulk to Jen. But for some reason, these clothes aren't working. She just looks like a kid who stole from their parents' wardrobe. My only explanation for this is that this episode was supposed to take place earlier in the season, maybe episode 2 or 3, before they go to the Drip Broker, then had to reshoot that opening scene where they explained that it was made by the Drip Broker, maybe cut out a couple scenes where some of the characters acknowledge that the clothes are too big, so that those scenes don't go against the idea that the Drip Broker is making clothes that shrink and grow with her, so that this episode can fit in the timeline with the Drip Broker in the last episode. You see how many hurdles I need to jump through with meta context to make this episode make a lick of sense? I'm going insane. Then we cut to Nikki and the good lawyer working on Mr. Immortal's case, and he explains that he's getting a divorce. But since he's called Mr. Immortal, and this is the superhuman law division, his power is that he can die and then come back to life. So he's like Jesus. He then explains that he's been in multiple marriages, but he explains that the way he gets out of them is that he unalives himself and makes a new identity to get out of that relationship, and then goes on to another one. So, this guy should be in prison. So then, after more arguing, he does this.
After any of the enters switching identity.
This is how I feel when I write my scripts to break down this episode. But then he just gets up and heals himself. But now we have another issue with all the damage that he has caused. Number one, he shattered an entire window that for some reason isn't made of plexiglass or anything that's durable enough to take someone running into it. Number two, he landed on a car that belongs to security and pretty much destroyed it. Number three, the shattered glass that is now falling is probably going to land on some pedestrians, which if you do not know, is pretty dangerous. So now he's in more trouble than he was before, and he should probably go to prison. Then we go to Jen at the wedding, and the bride comes up and asks her how life is going, and Jen answers. But apparently the bride isn't interested in that at all, and is only interested if there's a boy in her life, and obviously that's not true because Jen is a terrible person. Then Titania shows up because she's dating one of the guys there, but the thing is the bride is excited about Tatiana showing up instead of She-Hulk. Like, she's excited because it's Titania, but she's not excited She-Hulk to be there because apparently She-Hulk will take attention away from the bride, but Titania won't. So now we can put the bride in the basket of inconsistent characters in this show, which is pretty much all of them. Then Jen goes outside and sits on a bench alone, eating candy or whatever. And then we meet this guy who apologizes to her instantly when they meet. Like, she doesn't say anything. He just goes up to her and says, "I'm sorry." Like, what are you, Canadian? And then they have a nice conversation and they get to know each other. And then the scene is completely ruined by this.
Jen, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I found you. Half the event staff is like quitting because of how I'm treating them. Do you think you could help me like clean some stuff up around here, straighten up, take up some of these empties, like tidy up? I could really use your help with something inside, please.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yep.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye.
Okay, so the bride is a terrible person. Got it. Then we cut to the Mr. Immortal case, if you ever cared about it. And we see all the people that he's been married to. And that's a lot of people, man. I can barely handle one person. But you went out and dated like 8 people. Like, what are you doing? These people are explaining the ways that they unalived himself. And during this, he's just smiling like it's like an act that he loves performing. And then the good lawyer says this.
How you all first became aware of Mr. Immortal's pattern of behavior?
But I feel like they could have figured that out pretty easily. Like, for example, one of them says that he took a cyanide pill and died, but I feel like the time between he called 911 and them getting there, he would have already alived himself. But the show doesn't explain how he does it, so I'm not either. So, yeah, get over it. Then they have this little piece of dialogue.
My friend sent me a link to a video posted on that site, Intelligentsia.
The one for hateful man babies?
Yep.
There is a website called Intelligentsia. Keep that in mind for later. Then the lawyer says this.
I was worried about not only did you fake your own death multiple times, you also forged multiple fake identities. Frankly, all of these spouses should be filing criminal charges. You are lucky you're not in prison.
Whoa, okay, so he's never been to prison for what he's done. Like, never in the thousands of years that he's lived. He's just never been put in prison. Okay. Then we cut to Jen at the wedding, and she's wearing the bridesmaid dress, and it's way too big for her again. But who made this dress? Because the drip broker wouldn't have made this, because he didn't know that she was going to be in a wedding. Also, she didn't know she was going to to be in a wedding. But also the bride wouldn't have made this so big for her because she doesn't want her to show up as She-Hulk. So who made this? I need answers. But the show doesn't explain it, so I have no idea. And then we also get the biggest misunderstanding of gaming ever.
The groomsmen were playing Mario Kart and their shirts got all wrinkled.
Oh my god, from a video game?
Yeah, video games are sports now. They're on ESPN and everything.
I'm sorry. So their shirts got wrinkly because they were playing Mario Kart. Explain to me how holding a controller makes your clothes wrinkly? Because I'm pretty sure when you're playing Mario Kart, you're not going like this and contorting your body and making all of your clothes wrinkly. Unless they are, and if they are doing that, they're definitely not playing Mario Kart. But anyway, then we see the groomsmen that Jen is going to be walking down the aisle in. And it is a little disgusting rat dog. Now think of this for a second. You know how funny it would be to see her walking down the aisle with this little rat of a dog, and then her awkwardly placing it next to the other groomman while it pees itself, and then she goes back and stands awkwardly as there is dog pee on her dress? Now, imagine that for a second. And then we realize that there's no wedding ceremony in this episode. Yes, in this wedding episode, we do not actually see the real wedding. We just see an after party. I don't even think we see the groom. Then we cut back to the good lawyer working on Mr. Immortal's case. And he says that he has a lot of Apple shares and gold, and he wants to split it 8 ways and call it good. But the people aren't satisfied, because they want more money. And I'm not even going to talk about this that much, because I really just want to move on to the good part, which is Chad, baby.
Yo, what's going on, my party people? It's your boy, DJ Incredible Hulk.
I'm so glad that Chad is back. He makes me so happy whenever I see him on screen. Then we see Jen is drinking at the bar like she always is. We then go to Nikki and she's getting everyone what they want. And one of them just wants an apology. I'm sorry, but I don't think anyone just wants an apology and would deny getting money. Like, you are going to be trying to get money out of this situation. Of course you are. But also, the good lawyer isn't doing anything. She's just in the background. I don't know why this is Nikki's job. Also, Nikki has a job. I'm amazed every time I see her with a job. Then we go right back to Jen, and Josh comes up and sits down, and they have a nice conversation. But she's drunk out of her mind. So none of this is really that meaningful.
I just wanted to come to one wedding and show that I was actually doing pretty good.
You know, I don't think that's true because you're obviously drinking your sorrows away every time you're at a bar. Anyway, then she leaves because she's starting to throw up, and then we get the required fight scene between Titania and her, and for some reason she forgets how to turn into She-Hulk, but then don't worry, she remembers how to turn into She-Hulk. So I don't know why that was thrown in there, but sure. And then She-Hulk continues to break some property. Then Titania gets her teeth messed up and she looks cringe. She gets humiliated and leaves and steals a cake. Then the bride shows up looking at Jen in She-Hulk form, and Jen is obviously sorry. She didn't want anything like this to happen, but Titania punched her, so she just turned into She-Hulk to fight, while Chad put on some banger music and used the meme horn sound effects. But the bride says that it's fine, and she's happy that She-Hulk is at her wedding because apparently her being drunk makes her completely change her mind. Okay. Then we cut to Nikki and the good lawyer talking and having a conversation after everything with Mr. Immortal has been settled. And if you look in the background, there is a piece of wood covering the hole of the window that was shattered when Mr. Immortal unalived himself. That, my friends, is continuity. We then find out that the good lawyer has a family. She's been married for 11 years. She has a kid. She has a well-paying job. She's got it all. I was actually surprised when she said this. I thought she was going to be a miserable one-tone character like everyone else in the show. She's a very successful one-tone character in this show. But actually, I was really surprised when she said that she was doing really well. Good job. You're making it. But then they both decide to go onto the website called Intelligentsia that was brought up earlier in the show. And apparently Intelligentsia is just Reddit. Like, it's Reddit's format. And it's filled with a bunch of people that want She-Hulk to die? Why is Reddit being so villainized? Like, I don't know, it's really funny when movies and just media in general villainize Reddit, like Redditors are the bane of Hollywood's existence. It's so funny to me. It's just so bizarre. Like, if you want the edgy people, go to 4chan. Like, if I log into my Reddit, all you'll see is some Minecraft clips, some Lego builds, and some Lord of the Rings memes. Like, there's nothing threatening about this place. Calm down. Again, Go to 4chan for the degenerates. Don't attack Reddit. They didn't do nothing wrong. Then we cut to some science lab where the bad guys are, and we see on a computer screen that there's like a Reddit symbol of Hulk King. Again, this show is really weird. And you see, these are the bad guys, and they're connected to the Wrecking Ball crew, Asgardian construction worker guys from episode 4, I think. It was 3 or 4, I can't remember. Actually, I think it might have been 3 or something. I don't remember. And the problem that they have is that they need to get Jen's blood for some reason. And the needle that they used last time was too weak. It was too scrawny. It was too thin. So instead of trying to do it again and using the same needle except jumping her while she's in Gen form, they use the big brain 5-head Reddit mode and have come up with a better solution. A thicker needle. Redditors. What can I say? But yeah, that's the end of the episode. I have no idea what to say. Like, I think this might be the worst episode. It was a filler episode, and I'm gonna say it again, just because they address that it's a filler episode doesn't mean it voids it of any criticisms. It's like the cheap cop-out for the Star Wars sequels. Oh, it's just a space movies for kids. Yeah, but they're still bad even from a kid's perspective. So I don't know what to tell you. But anyway, this is my review for She-Hulk, and if you guys are interested in seeing more, please subscribe. I'm working on a season finale live stream, and I have some very special guests that are coming on. And if you want to get notified for when that's happening, hit the notification bell below, and consider subscribing. And comment your thoughts on episode 6 of She-Hulk. I'd like to hear them. But anyway, guys, that was it. Consider subscribing. Yeah, peace.